Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Your Love Experience podcast. Today, I have a and if I could say very a million times, I would. We have a very special guest, Dr. Nicole Labeach. Dr. Nicole, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity and your time to join us on this podcast, Your Love Experience. So before I introduce you, because honestly, I will spend at least 10 to 15 minutes
Lord.
you, right? But you can introduce yourself to the audience and let them know who you are, the spectacular person you are.
Oh my goodness. I need to keep you in my pocket. So anytime I need some affirmation, I'm just going to look in my pocket and say, what'd you say, Keishorne? Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Nicole Labeach. I'm very excited to be here. Keishorne is pretty amazing and special, so this is a delight. I am the relationship coach on Put a Ring on It, which is on the OWN Network on Friday nights at 10 p.m. We're getting ready for season 2, so hopefully you will tune in. And I'm also the co-CEO of Sister Diamonds LLC with my sister and wonder twin, Crystal Khalil. And we really support, elevate, cultivate, empower Black women in the conversation of leadership and love. So that's pretty much what I do.
I love it. I love it when you say wonder twin. Like the first time I heard that, I was like, why didn't I think about that? And I'm like, oh, that's a ladies thing. I ain't gonna be like, it's my wonder twin. That's my bro. That's my broski. That's my friend.
Listen, do you know the story behind that?
No, I just watched the cartoon.
Listen, when Crystal and I joined forces like this, amazing things happen.
Yes.
So we were like, Wonder Twins. That is our new understanding of who we are in the world together. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then what is it? What is it saying? Wonder Twin powers activate. How do I remember that?
Yes.
Remember
of anything, because we shake up all kinds of stuff and amazing things happen. It's favor and really understanding collectivism, and when we come together, great things happen.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. And I want to say, personally, congratulations on everything, that you've been doing. I look back and I'm like, wow, like even I pray a lot and I realize like, God, thank you for, putting me in the position or the places with, other people, like-minded people. And that's an amazing thing. And I know that you do a lot of things on OWN, right? Put a ring on it. We did the reunion together. Thank you so much for that opportunity. Also, I know that you see a lot of challenges, right? And a lot of couples love experiences, right? So what are some of the main challenges that you see within some of those couples, especially on the show?
Wow. Communication is a huge challenge. And you wouldn't think that it would be so prominent, but it really is. People come with different understandings of nonverbal communication, different bags that have a lot of interesting things in it. Sometimes you don't even know what's in your suitcase until you're with someone that you're trying to have a relationship with. As I tell people, sometimes they're like, well, why didn't this person tell me? And I'm like, sometimes people can't always identify their luggage until they're with someone that helps them in those mirroring experience or helps them from the standpoint of them feeling safe enough that now some of their things are really popping up and it creates challenges in the relationship. I mean, people definitely have trust challenges at times. And what's interesting is I find that it's not always cultivated in that relationship as a place of origin. It's from family relationships, it's from previous relationships, it's from people that had disappointed them or people that positioned themselves to be trusted, but they weren't worthy of that trust. And now that experience gets transported from your past into the relationship that you're in at present. And, without trust, it becomes really challenging to build something sustainable. And then the other thing that I don't think we talk about enough is vulnerability and the lack of it. Because you can't really experience connection, true connection, with walls and barriers, right? So a lot of times people are in these experiences and they're wondering, is this it, right? Or why does it feel like we're not really growing? Why does it feel like we're at a stalemate? Often because you're not connected. You just don't know it.
So how do you identify that? Say I'm a person who have all these baggages, right, and all these issues, and I'm kind of pouring them on my partner. So how do I identify those things so I could, develop a positive love experience?
They pop up. Here's the thing that I think is amazing about the human experience. If you are looking, you can see things are not going well.
Yeah.
Right? It's incredible how much we rely as people on avoidance to not see what's in plain sight. So often it's being able to say to people, are you willing to just be authentic about what you see and trust what the other person is telling you is happening?
Yeah.
Can you just do that? Yeah. Can you believe that we're on the same team? And if I say to you, babe, it's interesting. Every time we talk about this, you shut down. I don't know what that is. And it's not even a judgment, but it's an observation. Do you know that when this topic comes up, your whole situation changes and we can't even move past hello? Once that enters the room, we are in a bad place. For the other person to say, I didn't realize that. Thank you for sharing that. I really need to think about that.
Yeah.
I don't even know really where that's coming from, or to be able to say, I'm having a feeling right now. Give me a minute. Let me figure out what's happening, and maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So just believing each other will often tell you what's happening. If you don't believe every time there is commentary or observation, it means you're a bad person. That means you're a bad person. Sometimes your actions are showing up in ways that are challenging what we're trying to build. And if that's the case, we always need to know what those things are.
Yeah, yeah. And that's very true, because it goes back to exactly what you said in the beginning, communication. Everything is, you could write communication and put it in a circle, and then you'll have so much different legs to communication, right? And how you're supposed to communicate. So do you think, right, that love and relationships kind of shifted during the pandemic? Because 2020 was a tough year. And being in quarantine was even tougher because people have to deal with their spouse, their partners, and even themselves.
Yeah. I don't know that love shifted as much as I think people were positioned to stop using the things that they use to numb out and escape, to recognize if the love was healthy. Right? So I don't think the love did anything. I think people were positioned differently, because you can't go hang out with your boys readily.
That's right.
You can't go to the spa. You can't go buy shoes. You can't go to the club. You can't go to happy hour. You can't go to the frat house to kick it with the bros. All of that shut down. So what was left was, is the love healthy? Is it struggling? Is it on a kickstand? What's going on with it?
Yeah.
And because you were on lockdown, you had to look at what it was, because there's no place else to go.
No way. Nowhere to go.
So I think for some people, they took the opportunity to say, look, we cannot be in here together for God knows how long, because we don't know how long this is going to last, and act like we're not being squeezed against the wall by what's not working. We got to figure something out. And folks started doing things like reaching out to us. You know what I mean? Folks started reading, folks started talking, folks started saying, all right, maybe we need to spend some time together doing something that's fun, even though it's in the house. Some folks took that by the horns and said, this is our time to get this right. And then some folks went into further isolation and really struggled because of that.
Yeah. And one of the things too is I tell people this a lot. I say, when you get into arguments, right, or two people get into arguments, before the pandemic, you went to work. So you was at work for 8 hours. You were able to think about things, have a conversation with a friend.
Right.
Now you can't even have a conversation with a friend during quarantine because they can hear you while you're talking.
Oh yeah.
When you can't even take a break, breathe for a little bit.
Right.
Because you risk going outside, you won't get COVID to come back inside.
Right.
So the things have changed, right? I know for my marriage, it was tough because of our daughter, and she needed so much time, and we were both trying to do our online store, and it was hard. We had to set up schedules. Like, hey, you got this from 2 to 4, and I'm like, yeah, but I got an interview from 2 to 4.
Right.
So I gotta start doing these shipping labels from 2 to 3 to go to the post office, and it could become discouraging to the relationship and to myself. But then I had to ask myself, Keishorne, okay, how can you make this work? Right? How can you make this work? And I said to myself, you know what you're going to do? You're going to put her time first. And then everything else will revolve around that for you because you can adjust. So it comes to, that part, in order for you to really see within yourself.
Listen, I love what you just said, because one of the things that the pandemic did is it forced people to become more self-aware. Right. And when we're in a small space, when we're in a big space, but we can't get outside and do what we normally do to depressurize and to recalibrate and calm down and get ourselves together, it forces you to recognize really what compromise looks like and if you can do it, right? Because some people recognize they created a self-fulfilling dynamic in their relationship. So many things were about what they needed. And now that we're in here together and the dog is walking behind the Zoom on the couch and the kids are everywhere, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I got to figure out how this works for all of us, because this is not changing anytime soon, right? So I can really appreciate those couples that said, we can't do this the way we've always done it because it's changed, but we can win if we stay on the same team.
Yeah. I mean, when you're on the same team, right, do each person have their own primary responsibility in building a successful relationship?
I think that is a very cool way to look at it, as long as we're flexible. Because inflexibility breaks things. So if one of the things that I love to do is I just love to cook, right? If that's my thing, not because I'm a woman, not because your mom cooks, but because I love to cook and because you love my cooking and it does something for me, that does not mean that that's our negotiated agreement until Jesus comes back. Right? It's like, ooh, once you say that, you're on the hook till Jesus. It's a long time. So we got to be able to renegotiate and work together so that though I signed up for that, it doesn't get old. It doesn't get tired because I've got partnership in it.
Yeah. Because some people will have non-negotiables and some will be more important than others. Right. So what would you say for those people who think okay, I understand it's a non-negotiable, but I don't think it's that serious. Right. But the other person, it's like, okay, it's serious to me, but the other person don't think it's that serious.
Yeah. Non-negotiables and boundaries, I think, are really important.
Yeah.
Not walls and barriers, but boundaries. It's kind of like, on the freeway. You don't really want to be on a 6-lane freeway with no lines. You don't really want that. You might think you do, but you don't. You want some guide and a sign or two that tells you if 110 is too fast and if 20 is too slow, right? So what I find is those couples that have clear boundaries with one another and they're vulnerable and they share, but those boundaries are clear, they do really well. And it's not so much non-negotiable from the standpoint of if this, then that under every circumstance, right? Because people who've been married for a long time, I love them because they'll tell you, yeah, that's for young marriages.
Yeah.
Those non-negotiables are for people who haven't done this for 40 years. Because when you've done it for 40 years, you realize what is the non-negotiable is we love, honor, and respect each other.
Yeah.
That's not negotiable. That's the force that keeps us going and that guides our behavior and our actions and all of that. And if at times we struggle or we fall or we have challenges, are we committed to getting back to that?
Yeah. I think that's so important, and that's something that we take away. As long as we love, respect, and honor each other, right, and have integrity, and we don't really waver with that, especially when we're arguing or we're having a healthy disagreement.
Right.
And we have to understand that there has to be respect there. If respect is lost, the relationship is doomed.
Yeah.
It's doomed.
Yeah. And what I tell folks and what I experience for myself is we're not perfect, right? We have errors in judgment all the time. I was telling a friend of mine, I said, I think I have decision fatigue. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, there are points where you shouldn't make another decision in a day. You really should just say, I'm at my point right now. I've made so many decisions today. Whatever you get at this point, it's just the law of diminished return, right? So there's certain conversations I can't even have at a certain point because I'm just off. I'm just not, I'm not where I should be. Yeah. And the wrong conversation pushes me to the edge. Now that's not often. I have a big tolerance, but it's real. And I think when sometimes that collides with a need of a partner and you get a little derailed, the question is, how quickly do you recover? Right? So you were disrespectful. Don't say you above it. None of us are above it. You were disrespectful. The question then becomes, what is your recovery time? And what is your sincerity to be able to say, yo, that was out of bounds. That was disrespectful. That was uncalled for. That wasn't cool. And I'm like, seriously sorry. Because my desire is not to hurt you. I was off. And instead of being able to say, babe, I'm off right now. Can we do this tomorrow? I kept going. And before you know it, I was over the edge.
Yeah.
So I didn't manage myself very well.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things when we can, manage ourselves and have good boundaries, it doesn't have to be these hard and fast things that life will often show you. Yeah, you said never, but.
You know what? Listening to you speak and, I found myself a couple of weeks ago looking at a lot of your videos, right?
Oh, gosh.
And try to understand, I try to understand people, right? And honestly, I'm serious. I think it was probably a couple of days ago, and I'm watching YouTube videos and I'm trying to see how you talk because you're brilliant and the things that no, seriously. And then I say to myself, Keishorne, you got to start studying. I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to school, but I would still like to know. Right. And a lot of what I speak about is, coaching, classes, but a lot of it is me learning on my own and making my own mistakes and learning from my own mistakes, but learning how to articulate it in a way I could deliver that message to other people. But when I hear you speak, it's more like, wow, man, the way you like those stuff, it's like you're playing basketball and you put it between his legs, you put it behind the back, but that it's just so, one thing that you said that made so much sense is a lot of people don't know how to manage themselves. And that right there is my key takeaway, because I got to pray that's going in my prayer for tonight, God. Please teach me how to manage myself before I manage anyone else, right? It's like teach you how to love yourself before you love anyone else, right?
It is the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah. I said it on the show, and my team is always like, because apparently when I said it, I did this, and I said, manage yourself. And they were like, that gave me my whole life. And I was like, listen, you know, people, first of all, thank you so much for the kind things that you said about how I articulate my thoughts and reasoning, because, early, I knew that my words were a gift, but I didn't know how to utilize it. So it was like a Ginsu knife. It could cut you up like in a matter of seconds, because I didn't know. I didn't know the power of it. I didn't know how to utilize it. So literally, for me, being honest, what God did was he cultivated it over time and showed me that there's a discipline to it that now comes with self-compassion, and it comes with understanding, and it comes with my speaking comes with listening, because I now recognize, you can say something and the way you say it cuts a person all the way down to their knees. And you can say the same thing and the way you say it lifts them all the way beyond the ceiling. I didn't know that. So it was just coming out based on what I felt.
Yeah.
And if I felt you did the wrong thing, that's what you're going to get back. There wasn't a lot of reason to it. So I'm so grateful now that what is shared and what is seen and what is felt is there's compassion and there's a curiosity to understand, so that anything that's said makes sense and hopefully opens some healing to the heart. In some way.
And let's just stick on healing, right? Because number one, I love that word cultivate, because Miles Monroe used to really, really dissect that word of cultivation. Rest in peace to Miles Monroe. And I used to read a lot of his books and watch his sermons on relationships and how things work, right? Biblically and, like spiritually and all the other things. And it was really amazing. But on healing, like how do you, like someone who's going through a breakup, right? What is your best advice for someone, you're letting go of someone that you love? You're going through a really toxic point in your life. You're damaged, right? What is some good advice to help someone heal at this point?
It may sound cliche, I don't know, but worth is a real context in the healing conversation. Because often, when you're broken, the challenge is usually who broke you, right? People that are random and they don't mean a whole lot, they usually can't even get close enough to you to tamper with anything that causes you real pain. But when someone is close to you, or you're in a relationship with someone, that access, right, can really do some damage. So there's a point where you have to be able to ground yourself and say, wait a minute, independent of this betrayal, this disappointment, whatever is in the mix, who am I? And who do I belong to? Who am I? And who do I belong to? And what does God say about me? That doesn't change, even if I got emotionally abused, even if somebody dogged me out, even if somebody didn't show up. Because if you can at least have some understanding of that, then some of the things that have been sold, you can return. Some of the things that you've bought into, you don't have to own as your own, right? You can start to decipher what's happening. And from that truth, you can start to speak the truth. Because a lot of times what happens in some of these relationships, we can't even ask anybody to hold us accountable to healing. We can't even ask anybody to bring positivity around us because so much of it is happening in secret, right? So when the breakup occurs, part of what happens is whatever you've been hiding or kicking under the rug, or we just gonna put some new shoes on that, or we just gonna put a new wig on that, you can't do anymore because there's been a huge shift.
Yeah.
So now it's being able to get back to center and say, okay, so this is the reality. What do I do now? And go back to what is most true about me, that my creator has not shifted one thing in perception of how I was made, who I am, who I belong to. And can I start there in that true space? And now can I start to speak the truth? Without villainizing anybody else, can I just start to speak the truth to people who will hear my truth, honor my truth, encourage my truth, encourage me, be positive towards me, be loving towards me, so that I can start to love on myself again.
Yeah. Do you know how much people are in relationships right now that they should be out of in order to experience that?
Right.
And a lot of people will not experience that is because they're trying to fix broken people and they're trying to make it work with him or her, and they're trying to change him or her to meet their potential. But they will never reach that. It will be decades will pass and they will never, reach that level of intimacy, of love, or that experience that they've been waiting for. And the sad thing about it is that a lot of people have children. So it's hard to say, you know what, I want to walk away because my family may judge me. Society may judge me. What would I look like as a single mom, even though I'm mentally, physically, or emotionally abused? What would I look like as a single mom and tell people? They're going to think it's my fault. They might think, there's so much judgment, on that. Right. And I love breakups. I tell people, oh, you broke it up? Let's go. Yes. They be looking at me like, I had a client this morning. I was like, yes. I'm like, I'm happy. I was like, congratulations. She says, why? I'm like, because you're about to really step into your true self.
Yes.
You don't know what you're about to become.
Yes.
Right. And I tell this to the men and the women, you don't know what you're about to become. I'm so happy. You don't see it right now, but I see it because I've been there. And I know what it feels like. I've been broken.
Yeah.
And that's the best feeling. So they don't understand it now.
Yeah.
But I have clients from last year, 2019, who was emailing me and who will text me or make a video. Keishorne, I can't believe it. But I woke up this morning and then for something told me to look in the notes that we do. Right. And I looked into the notes and I was reading back, like, what was I going through in 2018? Like, what? Like, well, this was me? And I'm like, told you, man.
Listen, that is one of the reasons, it's funny. I said this today with some of my students.
Yeah.
I said, suicide is so egregious to me, not just because there's a loss of life, but because if you live long enough, you'll get to look back at certain things that you thought should have logically taken you out and realize you're still here and it was a blessing. But you got to stay around long enough to go through the process of recognizing that breakup was supposed to happen. Thank God. It was grace. And it wasn't because I needed to start over. Because I hear a lot of people say, but I don't want to start over.
Yep.
Putting $100 good after $2 bad is not wisdom, right? So at some point, you have to be willing to say, this is not starting over. this is a part of my journey. And I take everything that I learned with me from the last relationship to the next relationship. It's not, I spent 10 years here, I don't want to start over. If it's not good, if it doesn't speak to your values, doesn't speak to your faith, doesn't speak to your purpose, doesn't speak to your honor, it's not good.
Yeah.
Staying?
Yep. That's not good at all. No way. No way.
You're better off praying, seeking, understanding, and believing what you are experiencing. Now, that's not a fly by night, oh, we have an argument, I'm out. You're not talking about cancel culture and all that foolishness. Mm-hmm. You've got so much evidence that this is toxic if you just open your eyes and see it for what it is. And the hardest part is if you can see it's toxic and the other person has no intention of health. They have no intention of being healthy. It's time to do something different.
Wow, and that's the truth. But they and people don't recognize it. And you tell them, they're like, yeah, I understand that. We get that, but I love him. I understand what you're trying to say, but I don't want to lose that person. I still have hope, and hope will woof. Having hope in the wrong person and the wrong things is really, really, like, so on a positive note, right? Let's get heartbreak on a positive note, right?
Yeah.
What are some tips, right, to help? Like, what does a healthy relationship look like, right? A healthy partnership. Like, what are some signs so someone who's listening or watching can say, oh, well, okay, well, we ain't all that bad. We got some healthy signs here, right? We got some bones.
Yeah. It's funny. Who's the rapper? There's a rapper that talks about fair exchange, no robbery, right? Mm-hmm. It's not about equal. I know everybody's like, it's got to be equal. Okay. It's got to be equitable. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference. You really have something good when you can look at your relationship and say, we have a fair exchange here. We're partners. Mm-hmm. Our intention towards each other is good. Mm-hmm. Our desire to create safety for each other is clear. It's ever present. And we don't require each other to be anything different than who we are. We require each other to grow at the pace that growth is meaningful to the other person. But I don't need you to be someone totally different. I'm not picking you apart and plucking things and trying to reposition things and reconfigure everything for us to coexist. Mm-hmm. We just working together to build a good, yummy life with each other. Connected, vulnerable, and trying to figure this thing out together. That's some good stuff right there.
Yeah. I think that's excellent advice, because one thing that I think about a lot, right? And I said to myself the other day, right? Anytime my wife leaves the house for a while, she goes on a trip or she does the thing and she brings my daughter, mm-hmm. and I'd be like, yo, I miss them. Like my friend, he hit me up today. I was like, I sometimes it's like playing devil's advocate in a way. Mm-hmm. It's peaceful, right? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes if I'm in, the office or whatever, working, you can still hear my daughter, but some people can't hear it because they're listening. And some of my videos, you will hear, "Dada," or you will hear, "I'm hungry," but at least 50% of those videos, you will hear something in the background, but nobody will pay attention to it because I'm talking.
Right.
But I said something to myself. I was like, I really love my family, man. And I was saying to myself, I said, when they're out on the road, I say, oh God, please let them reach their destination on time, because I know that I can't deal with anything every time. I don't know, for some reason, it just bothers me, when they're outside and I'm not there, because I feel like, I don't know if I feel like I'm Superman, like I could protect them, but when they're not with me, I feel like, I'm not saying that they're not capable of, God is not there, but I just want that extra blessing, because never take for granted when your partner, your friends, or anyone comes home. I'm happy when they walk through that door, like they knock on the door, we're home. That's the best feeling in the world. because there's a lot of people who will never open that door to someone else again.
That's real. And when you see that and you appreciate that, you work to keep it growing and healthy.
And that's where I was going with what you were saying about everything and just, making it yummy, right? I love that. Yummy. Right? But it's so beautiful how your words go, and like you go from being sophisticated, then you go into a funny word like yummy, but I peep everything, right? So, and I said to myself, I was like, you know what? And that's what you fight for. Because when you get to a point where you don't think like that, or somebody asks you, where's your partner? Or do you speak to them? I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's when you should know something is wrong, in my opinion. Yeah. Right. So, so anyway, back to scheduled regular programming, right, with us. So I know I was gonna ask you one more question, but I just wanted to know something as well too, right? Sure. Tell me more about like the people, like how did you feel being on the show, right? And put a ring on it. Like, what did you learn? Like, what is one thing you probably learned that you like kind of sat down and like sat down one day when you got home and said, Dr. Nicole,
right.
You are,
I don't know if I thought that, Dr. Nicole, you are. I don't know that.
No, like Dr. Nicole, you are in for it. Like you are, you're going.
Listen,
like, this is.
Listen, I felt really blessed, really blessed, because it's something that I knew the Lord spoke to me on May 16th, 1993. I knew the date. I knew exactly where I was when he said it. And I waited 20 something years for it to manifest. So sitting there, I was in awe that everything God says he's going to do, he will slow things down, speed things up, stop things from happening, whatever is necessary to bring it to fruition, he will do it. And I really have moments sitting there saying, wow, God, you like for real. And I have so much data that you're for real, but you keep upping yourself. You keep continuing to show me you are not a resource. You're just the source, period. So what I figured out was not to be super spiritual. It's just my reality. Every time I invited him into the space, he did not disappoint. Made my job so much easier, because I would just say, give me ears to hear and eyes to see, and don't let me miss a thing that you don't want me to miss. And the things you want me to miss, just keep it from me. Yes. In the context of this conversation, just make me blind to it so that I don't mess it up. Yes. And that's exactly what I experienced. And because for me, it wasn't television, it was just interaction that was being televised. It felt different for me, very different for me. And I was grateful that I had producers, like Will Packer and Rob and Jeff and Robin and all these people that were just like, just let her do the work. We'll film it, but let her do the work. And that was my prayer, and that was fulfilled for me. So I just felt really blessed, seriously blessed. Still do.
I honestly think that message was for me. It's probably for a million other people, but that message right there was for me, because I'm in a season, right, where it's like I want things now, and I'm like, God, like when? I work hard. I've been doing this for years. I'm putting out content out there. And sometimes I'm like, I'll be looking, I'm like, how this video already got like 1,000 views? This is a good video.
Hotness. I don't understand what's happening.
But the ones that you don't pre-do, like the one that you just put the camera down, you say something, those are the ones that the authentic, ones is the ones that people like. But, back to it, I'm at a season where it's like when? And I listened to Steve Harvey, and when he was down on nothing, and he said he just got a call, and he was like, oh God, I'll show up, but this right here blessed me to show me that, God is the source, and I just have to keep up, just keep it up, just keep going. Because I'm not where I was last year. I'm not where I was in 2017 or 2016, right? Because I started just like everyone else. It's just I kept on being consistent. Yeah. And there's a lot of people I'm sure that you started with that's not even there anymore. And you're just keep going, you know.
You run your own race.
Yeah.
And you remember, for me, remembering that my whole journey's been on a continuum.
Yeah.
So if it's been on a continuum, it's a whole lot of prayers that got answered, right? You talk about where you were in 2010, where you were in 2015, where you were in 1995. You look at that and you look at where you are now, and you can honestly see the hand of God opening up the heavens and pouring out an abundance of blessing, right? But what happens sometimes, especially in the social media era and everything that we experience, there's so much stimulus that tries to make you feel like you're late to your own party.
What? That's what it is. I'm late. I gotta
No.
I know.
I'm not late to my own party. And God is like, you are not late to anything, ma'am, Nicole.
Yeah.
You're not late to nothing. I am moving the time.
Yeah.
I am shifting the circumstances for your good. Stop acting like you late. You are on time, and because I love you, you even early sometimes. Just because I want to show you that I got you.
Mm-hmm.
So run the course. Just run the course. Because the truth of the matter is, if I got this show 10 years ago and I wanted it so badly 10 years ago, it wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the right time. I wasn't uniquely where I am to have the conversations I can have now. And 10 years from now, I won't be where I am now.
Yeah.
So it all works together.
Yeah.
If we're trusting, all right, you got it, you got me, you sure? Yeah, you sure?
Mm-hmm.
I got evidence, because he's like, look at the evidence. I'm like, you right. Okay.
Yeah. That's true, is the evidence, and I got to keep, and the thing about it, I got to keep reminding, the thing about it is that you got to keep reminding yourself that every day, it's in the word, it says it, right? That every day is new, right? You got to keep washing yourself with the word every single day. And you really have to be obedient and understand that everybody else's race isn't yours. Because the thing about me too, and everybody else, is that you'll see people succeeding around you. Mm-hmm. And you're like, but I'm doing better. And then you're looking at them and they're succeeding, and right. You're there like, where's my promotion? Where's my upgrade? I'm still where I'm supposed to be. But I think staying focused and, like you said, run the course, right? Run your race, and I think that's important, right? So thank you so much. Is there any last words that you would like to leave our viewers and our audience today?
I think you're great.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Your audience is great.
Thank you.
I just look forward to more conversations. I think there's so many things that you're doing and so many things that you're gonna do, and maybe this is not usual, but I just want to affirm you.
Yeah,
we don't affirm each other enough.
Yeah,
it's a big deal, and it's an opportunity we miss all the time. I think you're doing a great job. I love that you love your wife. I love that you love your daughter. I love that you love our community. And that you're trying and you keep trying and you keep getting up and you keep doing it. And that blesses me. So thank you for that.
That means a lot to me. I really appreciate that, seriously, because everybody needs that affirmation and that confirmation. So I definitely needed it today, yesterday, and the day before. So Thank you so much. So where can people find you, right?
So ask Dr. Nicole, all my social media handles, DM me, follow me, friend me, do all that stuff. Love to hear from you. Yes. And Sister Diamonds. I mean, if you are a woman of color, you want to be a part of our tribe. You want to come to our events. You want to connect for coffee. We have coffee and conversations with Crystal and Nicole. I mean, we do all kind of things to really support and align with the women that are in our tribe. So check us out, Sister Diamonds. And if you've got a daughter, by the way, if you've got a daughter that's between the age of 18 to 25, or if you're 18 to 25, you want to check out our international slumber party that's coming up. It's going to be amazing. Over 10,000 young women from around the globe are coming for this conversation. So, connect to good people. And I think we're great people to be part of your life and to be a part of the conversations of where you're going. So come on through and say, hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I second that. I want everyone to check out everything that you're doing. Women, men, anyone to check out exactly what you guys are doing. Because one thing that you said on a call that we had before, and we're going to close with this, is that everything you do is with integrity. Right. We had a call, and that stuck out to me. Right. Every time we speak, I find a couple of things that kind of stuck out to me, and I write it down. And has a list of Dr. Nicole. 1, 2, these are the points that she's been saying. We use all of those to bring it back. You never know. Yeah, because you never know when you need these things in the future, or if you need to go back to something and think about it. Right. And you said integrity. You said everything that you do and the people that you bring on your team, everything is integrity. And you run everything. So then that right there, stood out to me. And when people could use those kind of, words to describe where they're going or where they are or who they want to bring into their circle is very important. Very important.
Every time.
So thank you so much, Dr. Nicole. Thank you so much for joining us on Your Love Experience podcast. We really appreciate you. We love you. And we hope to have you back in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're
Bye,
welcome.
everybody.
See you later.